Are you ready?
Ready.
All right, let's go. Kevin here, top 1 financial advisor and best-selling author. We are here to talk about the stock market. We got some news out of Tesla and we got to talk about it. Tesla announced today that they are going to do a stock split in order to pay a stock dividend. Now here's the thing. Now I got my pen and my paper because there was a lot of stuff going on. I had to take some notes. And the thing here that you want to know as an investor is a stock dividend is not the same thing as a cash dividend. I think a lot of people are going to get tripped up on that and maybe make a mistake getting into something that they may not understand. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what a stock dividend is, what a split is, why it's important, why this is different than a lot of the other stuff, Amazon and Google included, that we may not have seen in the past. So again, I got my notes here. I'm just going to run through and try to make this rant. I think it's more of a rant, but to make this rant a little more organized. All right, so what's a stock split? Generally, a stock split is taking a $5 bill and making change. I got a $5 bill and I'm giving you 5 ones. The value of the company doesn't change. You do not benefit or lose by doing a stock split. However, in most cases, or in some cases, I'll say that, in some cases when a stock split occurs, the company tends to rise and tends to take off. We saw that with Apple. We will see what happens with Amazon and Google when that happens later this year. With Tesla in 2020, when they announced their first stock split, the company was up from the announcement on August 11th to the day it actually split on August 31st of 2020. The stock was up more than 70%. Okay, that is a benefit to Tesla, right? Or to people who own Tesla from the time that they announced the stock split. The other thing is, if you held it or you bought it on August 11th and you held it through to today where it's up 8%, your shares have more than doubled since then. But here's the other thing here too. You gotta look at it as many angles as you can. You want to give yourself a well-rounded view of any company. 2022 is not 2020. Them different years, different time periods. The reason I say that is because the environment for Tesla and the entire world has changed. What do I mean by that? Well, first, remember back in 2020, interest rates were almost zero. Tech companies across the board, which people consider Tesla a tech company, I can argue that a different day, but in either case, a bunch of tech companies left and right were booming, right? Which is absolutely taking off left and right. I think if I remember correctly, Tesla in 2020 was up 400%. So in August, that's a small piece, right? 80% the entire 400. That's ridiculous. Tech companies across the board, they were up in 2020. That ain't happening in 2022, not so far, because the Federal Reserve has reversed their position and they're rising interest rates, which tend to hurt tech companies. So be careful there. You still have a supply chain issue for Tesla. They've done better than Ford and GM, but it's still out there. Also, they opened a plant, and I think they've had the Chinese plant for a while. They have a plant in China that has started to slow and shut down due to COVID-19. They did open a plant in Germany, but last I checked, the war in Russia and Ukraine is still going on. That if that is not contained, and if that's not resolved, that may or may not impact their plant there. I don't know. These are just general risks that you should be aware of. Overall, long term, I think Tesla's good. I think, you know, whether it's a year, 2 years, 3 years, I think it's good. I think it's way more solid financially than what it was when I was a critic of Tesla maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago. Okay, so if you decide to, and whether it's now because of the split or whether it was last week, like when I invested in it, because I invest in it every other week or so anyway. This is why you dollar cost average, because you don't know when this stuff is going to happen. So if you want to get into it, if you're going to ask me, should I get Tesla now before the split? In this case, I probably would, only because, keyword, only because of what I saw last time. Generally, these splits happen and the stock goes up, but very rarely do you see it take off like that. But it is not a guarantee. I want to emphasize that it's not a guarantee that is going to do that type of number again. The world has changed. The stock market has changed. But if you want to get it now, that's fine. But do be aware, right? Do be aware of how the market has changed and how the market is treating tech companies. So that's one thing that you want to know. The other thing that you want to be aware of is the stock dividend part. A lot of people love dividend stocks, and that's totally fine. I'm somebody that if it has a dividend, fine. I'm looking for the best companies. If they pay a dividend, cool. If they don't, I don't really care, Okay, this is a stock dividend though. It is not cash. This means that if you own shares of Tesla, you are going to get more shares of Tesla, which is not the same. A general stock split, you get $5, you get 5 ones. All you did is move from one denomination to another. There's no benefit to you. There's no financial benefit from a share perspective. But in this case, let's say that Tesla pays a 5% dividend. If I have 100 shares plus their 5%, I get 5 more shares. So I get more shares. That's the payment to me. And if the stock grows like we expect it to, but if it grows at all, then cool, I got 5 extra shares. That may be X amount of dollars in the future. So that is a benefit should you decide to invest at any point between now and the split. Here's the other thing that you need to know. I feel like and another thing, right, is this. We do not know the date in which this is supposed to occur yet. Why don't we know that? Tesla has to set their annual meeting, and investors, myself included, and you, if you own any part of Tesla, even if it's a fraction share, you get to vote on whether this happens, and you may have some say in how this occurs. We don't know exactly yet. They haven't set the date for the meeting. And until they set the date for the meeting, and y'all vote, or we all vote, or whoever owns the shares, until those votes happen, then you'll probably get a date. Now once the date is set, we'll probably all hear about it and all that kind of stuff, but right now we don't have a date, unlike Amazon and Google. But remember, those stock splits are different than these stock splits because it comes with that dividend, and that I think is what most people are looking at, is that stock dividend and how this may impact them. As an investor, I'm excited to a degree. Like I've never, not to my recollection, I do not remember a stock dividend being bestowed upon me. So I'm just excited to see how it works. But again, if I got 2.5 shares to do a 5% dividend, then once the split occurs, I'll look at my account and I'll have 5% more shares. That's really it. If you get that 5%, should you sell it immediately? I wouldn't do all that. There may be some restrictions with that as well. We'll get to that hurdle once we get there, once we know a little bit more information. But that's really it. Last time Tesla split was in 2020. The last time they split was in the first 20 days, was up 80%, between 70 and 80% to be exact. We'll see if that happens this time. I'm not expecting it. I'm really not. So I want you to have the right expectations. Well, I would be okay if somebody said, hey, look, I bought Tesla, they're going to do the split. I'd be okay with that. However, I want you to know that tech isn't doing that well this year. Tesla could be an exception. We'll see. But just have the right context going into it. If I were also buying Tesla, I would buy it and say, I'm going to wait a year. I'm going to wait a year and a half to allow that company to grow. What I would not do is buy it. It drops tomorrow. And that's if it drops tomorrow. I don't know what's going to do tomorrow. Or any day for that matter. But you buy it, it drops this year, it drops a little bit, and then you get out of it. Again, context is really important coming into this. So the approach that I would take, and that I've been taking since 2020 for Tesla anyway, is I would dollar cost average. So if you want to get you a little bit tomorrow, go ahead and do that if you understand the company, you've done your research. And then 2 weeks from Friday or whenever, add a little bit more and slowly build up that position, because if it continues to dip, which it had with the exception of today, then you're getting it cheap. Because I believe, based on what I'm reading and how we're seeing electric cars proliferate, I think it's going to be extremely valuable in the future. So you getting it now, it could be where Amazon is today at $3,000 a share, right? So, the stock is going to split, so that'll recalibrate in and of itself, but you get the point. So the best approach, if you want to get Tesla now, if you want to get it before the split, I would slowly kind of nibble at it. Give me some tomorrow, give me some next week, give me some next month, and slowly build up your position there. Should you wait until after the split? Honestly, if you wait until after the split, in this case, I don't really know if that's going to be beneficial, because you would have missed the stock split. Now, the company can still go up after that, but if I'm going to do it and I want the extra shares, then I would do it now. I think that would be the only benefit of doing so. And this, from my understanding, is a one-time thing. They're not going to continuously keep pumping out and creating more shares for forever. Again, it's not cash. Coca-Cola can do that because they're paying you a cash dividend. That makes sense. But it's a one-time stock dividend. So I don't really understand the advantage, unless you're trying to just get it at a cheaper price for whatever reason. Again, still a split. I don't see a benefit until waiting until after and then doing it. I think your best bet, if you want to do it, dollar cost average, slowly build up your position there. That's just my thought. But I'd love to know your thoughts. Again, I'm reacting to this in relative real time because I'm jotting this down and speaking about it as we go. But let me know your thoughts about the stock split and stock dividend for Tesla. Do you own it already? Are you looking into owning it? What are the other things that stood out to you about this announcement, or do you have any other questions? Feel free to let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, it helps the algorithm, is what everybody keeps saying. So definitely, please do that. It's free. And then lastly, again, I do want to emphasize, this is not 2020. Yes, I did talk about what it did in 2020 and how incredible that was when it happened. I would not go into it thinking that is going to happen. What I would go into it thinking is, again, I think Tesla's a quality company, so I'm snapping up shares as I go along. Okay, I just want to re-emphasize that. So if you get it now, this is a longer term stock for me, and I think that's a better approach for most people. So whether you get it now or even after the split, I'm gonna still feel the same way because the split doesn't really change the value in this case. I can get into the technicals about what it means to add more shares. That's technically called dilution. That is a different thing. But as a whole, I like the idea of it. I know I'm extending the video. I'm sorry. But these things they're happening right now. So I'm letting you know what I think. It may be incoherent. I'm sorry. So the last thing that you need to know too is it's probably better for Tesla to pay a stock dividend than a cash dividend. And the reason that is because remember, you need cash to grow your company, right? So if I'm making money, I'm becoming profitable, which Tesla is, and they've been making quite a bit of money, I can take that and buy a new factory. I can take that and invest in new technology. But if I'm taking that money instead and paying as a dividend, that's a benefit as a shareholder, but I'm not gonna grow as much. That is why you see, with the exception of this year, Coca-Cola was not an exceptional stock. That's because, part of it is because it's I'm not gonna call it a stale industry, but soft drinks, they don't do all that much, and they were paying a lot in dividends. So just like Google and just like Apple up until a few years ago, I said, look, I'm gonna just take that money. Amazon does this. Take that money, reinvest it, come up with new technology. Take that money and buy MGM Studios or buy some company to continue to grow. Tesla says, okay, well, I want to continue to grow, but I also want to reward people too. So I'm going to create more shares and give them to you as an investor. That is your reward, and maybe the stock will continue to grow. So it's like a weird middle ground. I'm not going to say it's something new because this is not the first time it's ever happened, but it is interesting and might be the first time that it's a company that I care about that does this. All right, so that is it for me. That's everything that we know right now. I'll continue to update this story in terms of when this stuff is supposed to happen, how the stock performs, and we'll see. We will see. But I'm looking at long term. I think for most things you should look at long term anyway. But those are my quick thoughts and reactions on the stock split and the stock dividend. All right, that's it for me. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.